and welcome to Econ 2013, or Principles of Economics 1, or Macroeconomics, or what it used to be called Political Economics. So for those of you that didn't have a chance to read the videos that were online in the orientation section, yes, this right here, we're going to be talking about macroeconomics, and it did used to be called political economics. And we are all about one certain thing, which we will get into. So, at this point, what I would do in class, if you were all here, is I would say, as I grab this bag out of my box, I'd go, who wants a Jolly Rancher? And some hands would go up, and then I'd go ahead and say some more things, some more hands would go up. So I'd hand out all the Jolly Ranchers. And then I go, okay, I understand that some of you don't go ahead and like hard candy. So I pull out another bag. And this bag would have Starburst in it. And I say, okay, who wants Starburst? And by the way, those that had Jolly Ranchers, you can have Starburst too. So a bunch more hands go up. Pass all those out. Then what I would do is I would come up to one of you that had both of them, and I'd swap them away. Okay? I'd swap them away, and then I'd go ahead and say, all right, which one do you really, truly want? Okay? But before I did that, I'd go ahead and say, what did I do? Okay? So, they take one. I still have the other. I had to make a choice. Now, here's the key thing. This literally is what economics is all about, choices. Now, why did this particular student have to make a choice? Well, it's because they didn't have enough economics time in class to get both candies. All right? Economics time in class. Didn't have enough of something to get both. What we're going to call not having enough of something, that something we're going to call resources. Okay? Some of us are used to resources being money. Right? We go into Walmart, we go, ooh, ah, especially during Christmas time, right? Or used to before the pandemic. But we go in there and we go, wow, lots of good stuff. Then we look at our wallet and we go, ooh, I don't have enough money to get everything I want. Or enough time. Yeah, I wish I had one more day to study for that final. Or other things. But most of the time our problem that restricts us is money and time. So we're making a choice because we don't have enough resources, which we call a scarcity. If we don't have enough of something, we call it a scarcity. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to get out this worksheet. Okay? It's in the LA module. It's the Economic Choices note sheet. This is the one we're going to fill out for this particular part of the class. Right? So get this out, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and fill in all of those empty blanks as we go through this. We're going to do this for all of the videos throughout the course. Now, something to think about. When you're looking at the video, if you happen to see the yellow pointy finger, that's telling you, right, this is a word that goes in one of those blanks on the sheet. Now, I've tried to go ahead and make it, top to bottom, left to right, that you're normally used to going ahead and reading. That's fine, but sometimes it's not. You might have to look for it a little bit because I may have to move some things around in the worksheet so they'll all fit. So, the yellow pointy finger, write it down. It's there. The gray pointy finger with the red outline, it's something that you really need to know. But it's not the super important thing. Super important thing has the yellow finger. The next important thing has the red outline gray finger. This is something that you may want to go ahead and note somewhere. All right? Now, why is this important? Well, first off, it's important so that you can go ahead and follow on, not just this class, but all of the future classes. Because it's not a class where, okay, we do chapter 1, we finish chapter 1, we forget everything about chapter 1, and we go on to chapter 2. Doesn't work that way, okay? Chapter 1 builds into Chapter 2, which builds into Chapter 3, all the way through the course. So keep these sheets. As a matter of fact, on the syllabus, one of the things it says, highly recommended, get a 2-inch binder, and when you fill these out, put 3 holes in them, put them in that binder, because we will be going back to these as we go through the course. And it's not just on the videos, but we will be going through these on our class conferences. Not only that, but if we are doing a class conference and not an in-class session, you're going to have to show me the filled out worksheet. So in other words, you're going to show me all of the yellow pointy fingers, all of that stuff filled in. All right, so that's where we're heading with this. So here's what we're looking to do. All right, this is going to go ahead and be key for you to understand what to do on that note sheet. Now, one other thing I want to remind you. All right, I'm sure all of us have filled out that little yellow sticky with 2 or 3 words on it that we know exactly what we mean. We put it someplace that we know we're going to be able to find it. 3 weeks later, we find the little yellow sticky and we have no clue what that yellow sticky means. So if you need to add some extra words, add some extra words. Remember, this is for you to be able to use at a later date. So make sure you understand everything that goes on here. Okay, so the first thing on that worksheet at the top, the study of choices made by people when there's a scarcity. This is what economics is. Now, a lot of folks go, well, doesn't it have to do with money? Only in the point where we're choosing what we're going to do with money. Such as in Washington, D.C., when they decide what they're going to do with all of that tax money. Are they going to put it in the military? Are they going to put it in infrastructure? Are they going to put it into welfare? Those are the choices they're making. And later in the class, we're going to get to some of those choices. When I teach microeconomics, we get into specifics. We talk about how we're doing energy, how we're doing immigration, how we're doing healthcare, and a few other things. Those are specifically microeconomic topics because they're a portion of the economy. And we'll get more to that later. But here's the first 3 things to put in there, and this is to remember what happened. Why do people make choices? Well, because, and here's where I go back to that one person, why did you choose the one candy over the other? And they go, because of, well, I like chocolate better, or I like the Jolly Rancher lasts longer, or the Starburst has a tangier taste, whatever it is. We made a decision to choose something based on information, our information, which we'll get to a little bit later too. We do make rational choices. Rational choices meaning we're going to go ahead and figure out how to do it without letting emotion get involved. We'll get to emotion later. Now, in the book, we call this cost-benefit analysis. Sometimes it'll be called marginalism in other places. But what we're doing is we're analyzing our decision. Specifically, the textbook definition says people will increase the level of an activity until its marginal cost exceeds its marginal benefit. Whew. All right, big mouthful. Now, if I was just to go ahead and leave it this way, all I could have done is said, here's the textbook, read the textbook, you get a test at the end, and we're done. Right? But I want you to actually learn these things. So one of the things that a teacher is supposed to do is explain the $5 paragraph and put it into something that's a little bit more understandable. You, or we, will continue to do what you, or we, want to do until you, or we, find something else better to do. Now think about that. If you like doing something, are you going to stop and go do something else you don't like as much? No, we're going to continue doing something that we like until we figure out something else we like better. So that's what we're looking at. That's that idea of cost-benefit analysis. We're analyzing this. And really, what we're doing is looking at that word marginal. Whenever you hear it, read it, see it, however you're looking at it, I want you to think something is different, or in other words, a change has been made. That's what we mean by marginal. So, marginalism, right? It's easier just using one word than cost-benefit analysis all the time. So we'll go with marginalism for here. All we're doing is taking a look at a scale. We're taking a look at two sides of the scale. The first is my marginal benefit, or in other words, what do we get out of it? Right? Is this going to make me happy? Do I really want this? Right? How happy am I? Well, take a look at this. First off, how in the heck do we even measure happy? What makes one person happy could make another person totally right? So we don't want to do that. But we do spend a lot of time making sure we are happy. I mean, think about it. Do we get up during the day to be unhappy? No, we do things we like to do, and we try to do as many of them as we can. So, in economics, we call this measure utility. And the measure is in utils. And I know a lot of you have never heard of that before. Don't worry about it. This is the only time we're going to talk about it in this basic economics class. Right? But I like to call it the happy factor. You will hear that throughout this economic class. So, as individuals, we spend, or we like to be pleasured, we like to be happy, we like to be satisfied. And we spend an awful lot of time, energy, and money doing that. We're doing this so that we can maximize our utility, or in other words, choosing what makes us happier than something else. Again, that word choice comes into play. Now, the other side of our scale, marginal cost. What does it cost me? So I'm looking at this. This is what I get if I make the choice. Or excuse me, yeah. This is what I get if I make the choice. But on the cost side, what do I have to give up? So that's what we're looking for. And of course, if it costs me more than I'm happy, then I don't do it. But of course, if happy is more than cost, I do it. That's all we're looking at. Marginal cost, marginal benefit. What do I get? What does it cost me to do? Now, let's take this and put it into an example, okay? And part of our example we're going to start out with is that we have a part-time job. We're all making 10 bucks an hour and working $3 a week. Yeah, I know the $15 minimum wage passed and that kind of stuff. And we'll talk about that later. Matter of fact, about another chapter or two away, we'll get to that. But this is where we're at. So we're working 3 hours a day. We're making 10 bucks an hour. And we chose to do that. Now one day, our kind of benevolent boss comes up and says, please, 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 can you work 1 extra hour today? So here's where the cost-benefit analysis comes in. Well, what do I get for that hour? Well, you should all go ahead and remember, I'm going to get 10 bucks. Now, then it's, what is it going to cost me? Well, we've got to figure out what we're going to be doing that hour. Well, let's say I was going to go ahead and chat with the gang. So the question is, am I going to choose 10 bucks or gossip? And here's where we take a look at making that choice. Now, for our example, we're going to assume that 10 bucks is better than the gossip. So we're going to choose the 10 bucks. Then we put it on a graph. For those of you that don't have the textbook yet, when you get yours and you look through it, there's a lot of graphs in there. Don't worry, we're going to go to a Graphing 101 video so that everybody gets a general idea of what's going on with graphing. So anybody has any problems or concerns with graphing, don't worry about it. All right? We will go through graphing step by step all the way through the course. But anyway, our graph, we look at wages, what we're getting, and we look at how many hours we're going to work. So we got $40, that would be the extra 10 bucks in wages. Go across that way, we got the extra hour, the 4 hour, we come up, there's our data point right there. Says, well, what's a data point? Hold on, we'll get to that in the next group, but we're just going to take a look at this for now. Now, the boss comes up and pleads with you very kindly to go ahead and say, what about an extra hour? All right, what do I get for that hour? Remember, it's only 10 bucks. You already chose to do an extra hour earlier to bring your total wages up to 40 bucks. You know that phrase, don't cry over spilt milk? Once you make a decision, it's done. Every decision after that, you analyze by its own weight. You don't look at what happened before. Right? The milk is spilled, big deal. Now you got to figure out how you're going to clean it up. But in this case, we're only getting that extra 10 bucks. Again, what does it cost me? Well, I was going to do exercise. Right? You know, all of us that have made that New Year's resolution that we're going to exercise and get sleek and panther-like figures are going to go, yeah, right, we're going to go ahead and choose the 10 bucks. So that's where we're headed. And we go ahead and graph this one. Right? The extra 10 bucks, we're now at 50, go across. Hours at work, an extra one, that would be now 5. And exercise is what I didn't choose. Boss comes up and says another hour. We go, oh, okay, let me see, I get an extra 10 bucks. What was I going to do? Hey, I was going to go ahead and study economics, but what the heck, it's the first day of class. I can catch up later and flunk. No, just kidding. But we decide that, yeah, we're going to take the 10 bucks for the purpose of our example. So we have another data point. We're now up to $60, we're up to 6 hours. Boss comes up and says, what about an extra one? I go, well, okay, I know I'm going to get the extra 10 bucks, but what was going to happen? I have a date. Okay? Now don't laugh, I can have dates too. My wife allows me. With her, of course. But for 6 months, in our example here, this person has been waiting for a date. And it's tonight. So we tell the boss, no thank you, we're going on the date. Why were we working the extra 3 hours? So we could get extra money to go on the date. But at this point, we now know, and here's our 70 bucks and our 7th hour, but look at this. Our worker will work up to this amount of time and not anymore. Now let's see how we can use this in a practical sense. Okay? Most of you here are not here just to go ahead and get a little diploma that you can hang on your wall. Okay? Now everybody's saying, well, yeah, I am. No, you're not. You're actually, yeah, you get the diploma, but you want to become a manager. You want to open your own business. You want to make more money, or at least have the opportunity to make more money than your high school friends that decided not to go to college. More money just gives you an opportunity to do more things. It doesn't make any difference whether you're going to be happier or not, but you'll have an opportunity to do more. So anyway, we take a look at this, and what if you're looking at it and it's Christmas Eve? And you're going to come up and you're looking at your workers, and which ones are you going to ask to work a few extra hours? Now, let's take a look at example A. The married person with 3 kids at home who still hasn't put in the bike and the other stuff that have to be assembled before Christmas Day together. Are you going to ask that person to do it? Now, you should be kind of shaking your head, nah, that doesn't sound quite right. And you're right, because they're going to do it if you tell them they have to, or you insinuate that they have to, or there'll be repercussions later down the line. And we all know how that can happen. It's either happened to us, or we've done it to somebody else. So this person works, but here's the key. Are they happy? No, they're upset that they have to work on Christmas Eve. They're not there for their family. Says, okay, well, big deal. But here's where it gets to be a big deal. What is their productivity like? Are they going to be at their best to get this thing done? You should all say no at this point. So you're going to have an unhappy, unproductive worker working those 3 hours. You might as well have burnt the money that you went ahead and spent, not just on that person's salary, but on all the stuff that that person made that you might have to remake. Okay? Now, on the other side of the coin, knowing this person, maybe it's they need the extra money because they don't have all of their presents for their kids yet. Now, you got somebody that's motivated to do that. Now, when I was in the Navy, I went ahead and I was single. I did every Christmas Eve. Any work that had to be done, I'd take it. But the folks that I took that work for on New Year's Eve gave me back the favor. Right? Because let's face it, married or single, who's the one that's going to want to not have to do work on New Year's Eve? Knowing your workforce, knowing how far you can go. This is the key when we start talking about choices. Okay? And as we start to take a look at how we can use this in the real world, this is one of the things you can take right now and go, if I just follow this, everything should be okay. Now, here's something that comes into play though. Every time we make a choice, it costs us something. The $10 in the date, we chose the date, what did it cost us? Absolutely, that $10. Okay? But here's the thing. It cost us the $10, but we could have done a whole bunch of other things. Could have walked the dog, went to a movie, watched the sunset, went to sleep, studied economics. And we could have done all of this. But our brain is really a fantastic tool. And it helps us get out of problems more than we think about. And here's how it does that. Okay? We look at every opportunity that we could have. All right? Thousands. If I went ahead and said, well, what could we do other than the $10? We go ahead and write all over the back boards and the walls and everything else. The dean and the cleaning folks wouldn't like it, but we could do that. And still run out of space. What our brain does is it brings to the top the two things that we're going to most do choices of. Or in other words, it gets rid of all of the stuff that aren't as important as the top two. The $10 or the date. Everything else, our brain automatically gets rid of. It's kind of like they bubble to the top, and then it's easy for us to make a choice. So, we chose the date. That $10, what we do is we call this opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is always going to be the next best alternative to the choice we made. Right? Going back here, we have all of these choices, but the $10 was the next best alternative. So that's where we go ahead and we look at opportunity cost. We choose that one. Here was our cost. All of the other things that we could have done don't matter. All right, other opportunity costs. Well, we chose the $10. It cost us gossiping. We chose the $10. It cost us exercising. We chose the $10. We flunked the class. Maybe. Right? We chose the date. It cost us the $10. So here's what we're looking at. Every time we make a choice, it costs us something. And even if we choose to do nothing, that's still a choice. We chose to do nothing, and whatever it was we could have done was our opportunity cost. So every time there's a choice, there's a cost to making that choice. The free candy, right? Picked one, why didn't you pick the other? Well, hey, the one I picked is the one I'm eating. The one that I didn't pick, that's my opportunity cost. Was it free? And oh, by the way, by this time I've already given both candies back to the classmate and said, yep, you let me pick on you enough so you now have enough economics time in class to have both. But was it free? All right, now you start thinking about the cost of the candy. Was it actually free to you? And you start thinking of, well, a lot of you are going to say, yeah, of course it was, I got it. But then I asked this question. What did it cost you to be in class? Because if you weren't in class, would you get the free candy? You go, not exactly. Well, let's look at it some more. Well, what's the opportunity cost? Well, remember, we said we were doing 3 hours, so we'd be out $30 for work. Tuition, and this is just in-state, out-of-state, it's 4 times that amount, $370. Textbook, if it was new and hardcover, it's $270. Transportation, wear and tear on your car, that's $10. Comes up to $680. And at this point, I would have looked at everybody that took no candy or only took one, and I would have said, look what you missed out on. You missed out on a $340 piece of candy, or 2 of them, for $680. And there'd be some groans and mumbles and stuff like that around. But this is what happened. That was your choice. You choose not to have the candy. Remember, we said choosing nothing, that's a choice. Your opportunity cost, getting back that $680 it cost you to come to class. But the key thing we were looking at is nothing is free. That candy that you got, it wasn't free because someone had to make it. Are you going to go to work for somebody and not get paid? I mean, what do we go to work for? We go to work so that we earn money, so that we can do other things. You know, like live in a house, eat, drive a car, all that kind of stuff. So you are going to look to get paid for the production. And of course, if you're getting paid, that means someone has to pay your paycheck. Okay? So this is the key thing here. Remember, nothing is free. Right? There's one of those little yellow hands down there. So I haven't been pointing them out yet, but if you've seen them, you should be filling this out. And if you haven't, here's where you go ahead and take a look at, let's see, what do I want to do? What do I want to say? Oh yeah, go back in the video and take a look at it, make sure you got them all there. Now, how do we produce things? This is a key thing to remember on how decisions are made. Because we're coming into a period where businesses are bad. People are good. So we have to take care of businesses instead of people. So that's what we're going to look at. How do we produce stuff? First thing we're going to look at is the production process model. Now this is in the middle of your sheet, so you should take a look at this. There's 4 parts to it. Input, where we take all of our materials and we put them together to go ahead and try to make something. Well, that's buying them all. Putting them all together, that's the conversion process. The output, there's the finished product. And then, of course, we find a customer to buy it. So that's what we're looking at. We also have to look at the profit formula. Profit formula. Profit equals revenue, that's the money we get from the customers, minus cost. That's all the other stuff we paid for. So these go together. We want to take a look at the cost side of our formula. Well, we buy the material. We pay for the conversion. We pay for getting the output to the customer. That's all part of this cost. We only get revenue when somebody actually buys it. So now here's what we're looking at. We're looking to hope that we make sure we have more revenue and cost so we have profit. Profit means a company continues. And let's face it, for those of you that are looking at starting your own company, are you starting that company to lose money? Or do you want to make profit? And for those of you that aren't starting a company, hey, it doesn't make any difference. You're working for a company. If that company isn't making profit, how long before they go ahead and close their doors because nobody is in business to lose money? All of a sudden now you don't have a job. So a lot of folks think that this profit thing is bad. Companies shouldn't be making profits. As a matter of fact, some people even think that workers have a right to work for that company. Not that the company chooses them to help them make profit, but they have a right to have a job. Well, in some economic systems that may be yes, in some economic systems it's going to be no. We're going to be talking about that in a little while too. But is profit really ugly? Well, let's take a look at what profit does. First off, if I have profit, I stay in business. If I stay in business, why is that important to somebody else other than the people that have something to do with the company? Well, here's one thing. If I have profit, I'm making stuff, which means there's actually stuff on the shelves. When we go to the store, when you go to Walmart, when you go to Costco, when you go to any store, when you decide you want to go on a vacation, guess what? There's stuff for you to buy. Think about going into Winn-Dixie and having 3/4 of the shelves empty. Why? Because those companies weren't making profit. Those items are no longer there. So only 1/4 of Winn-Dixie actually has stuff for you to buy. Now I want you to take it one more step. If all of a sudden we're going from 100 products to 25, but we still have 100 people coming into the store to buy those 25 products, what happens to the price? Okay, that's a teaser for the next chapter. Okay? Now, having profit also means that the businesses are operating, which means there's job opportunities. There are opportunities out there for us to go ahead and earn a living, right? Earn a paycheck. The last is there are retirement possibilities, right? At this point, I go ahead and ask the whole class, does anybody think you are going to retire on Social Security? Some folks will say no, some folks will say yes, some folks will give me the deer in the headlights look. Well, here's a teaser for our fiscal policy chapter. No way ever are you going to retire just on your Social Security. Okay, so when we get to that chapter, we'll find out why. So you need retirement possibilities. Now, what does this mean? This means you need to put your money into some kind of retirement funds. Now, when you go, if you talk to a retirement person, they'll draw a circle like this. Then they'll go ahead and do this, and they'll go Social Security. Social Security should not be. It should be less than or equal to 40% of the money you think you're going to need when you retire. 40%, not higher than that. Where does that extra 60% come from? Well, it comes from a retirement portfolio. And what do the folks that do retirement portfolios, where's that money going? It's going into businesses. No profit, no business. No business, no 60%. No 60%